So you should probably know that, when people say that revision is like a big deal. I love my little Gucci butterfly earrings. When people tell you that revision is a big deal, oh, but it is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. But all that being said, it is possible to overwrite a book. If you just relax and use your writerly intuition, and this is going to be something that you're just going to hone over time as we work together, you will now automatically sense when what you're writing is starting to lose its freshness and when it's starting to get stale. When that happens, back away from the keyboard, ladies and gentlemen, because you are done with another manuscript. Okay? So now that we've talked about the beginning to revision and the end to revision, we are going to chat about revisions themselves. I adore revisions because it's as if you're standing on a distant island and looking through binoculars at the opposite shore. Every time you take up the binoculars again, you see something different. And so one of the reasons that I like to write is that I like to give myself an escape. You'll see that there's huge acreage in my writing and in my life that is devoted to coziness. For example, I just got home from Aldi's and the dollar store, okay? And this place is packed with groceries. And it's so cozy because there's going to be really bad weather tonight. And I made it in before the bad weather. Okay, and it's so cozy to have to be stocked up with groceries. And so, one of the reasons why I write is to create a sense of coziness or to create an escape in my world. So when I do revisions, I try to think about what kind of prose I can slap on the paper that would fulfill my need. Now, this is a chance for me to enjoy world building. For me, I know my mentor and I have talked about this. When we start writing, it's as if we're in the middle of the reaction. This mutually agreed upon reality falls away. And I can see, I can smell, I can touch the world that I have built. It is more real to me than the world that I'm in. And I think this is something that gives a lot of people, it's kind of a strange high. My mentor calls it a clear channel. Mozart said that when he wrote music, he believed that he wasn't writing music at all. He believed that he was channeling it from another dimension or another world. Now, I certainly wouldn't know, not that I can cast aspersions on Mozart, but I personally do not know what goes on, okay? But for writers, I've talked to many who say it's a high, it's a euphoria that sets in. It's very drug-like, and you can understand why somebody like me would keep year in, year out, writing book after book after book, because you want that high again. It feels so good. I don't know if any of you know what I'm talking about. Comment below if you do. Because let's face it, writing is not always that, yay, happy, happy, happy. Okay? There are sometimes it just sucks. Okay. My children would say that's an inappropriate word. Sorry, you didn't hear that. Didn't hear that at all. A lot of people would say, and I would agree, that there are times writing is really hard. Will I save a syllable if I use one word versus the other? Is consonants a good idea there or a bad idea? All these micro analyses that go on. And so, yeah, you do not always get this high. But when it does happen, it feels really good. There is some chance that before you go to sleep, you might come up with ideas for the very next day that will completely obviate the need for you to struggle ideas. Also, to think, one thing to do is to think about, go to what I call your imaginary world before you sleep. And, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh my gosh, it's not you, it's me. I'm getting tired. It's hard living alone and doing everything by yourself. That's all right. I am not alone. I have my feline overlords here. So there is some chance that, you're going to get ideas if you go to your imaginary world before you sleep. But also, like when you're driving, I used to, and I still do, I use my phone. I use voice to text on my phone. And I leave messages for myself. So let's say you sit down to write and you have your first draft on the paper. On the second pass, try to add plot points or scenes around the plot points, which you have hopefully already determined, because I asked you to outline at least 3/4 of the way through. Try to add these plot points. However, if you're still running dry on that, chances are that there's a scene or two that will really stick vividly with you. Work on that scene and then just tuck in details that you think of at any point in the manuscript. The idea is to keep writing hell or high water, okay? You should have a writing schedule by now so that hell or high water, you put your hands down to the keyboard and you don't raise them until 10 minutes are up, 15 minutes are up, 20 minutes are up, 2 hours are up as you keep going. But you have to keep going. I'm going to do a later vlog to why there's no such thing as writer's block. But because I think we needed a little bit to treat our subject today, in all the newsrooms I've ever worked in, I have never heard one writer complain about writer's block. And the reason for that is because they got to pay their rent/mortgage. They got to buy gas for the car. They got to buy groceries with the words they put on their page. And let me tell you, when you have an editor that's looking daggers at you, what do you know? You're going to write because you are expected to. And so as time goes on, just trust me, these words will appear on the page. So your second, third, and fourth draft, chances are you are just moving around, tucking in details until you have the setup for the ending. A lot of this has to do with the configuration of your work. Generally, every one of my manuscripts has several levels. There's generally a high concept of a book, followed by personal symbolism that I just don't want to share with anybody, no offense. There's societal symbolism. A lot of times there's things that I want you to know about. So there's all these different levels of symbolism, and they have to work together, which is one of the reasons that I do so many edits, and I'm cool with this. It's what I sign up for. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? But the idea is just to keep writing. You're going to try to fill in your plot details with one pass, okay? And then you're going to make sure your plot is good. And then you're going to add characterization, okay? Describe your characters in proportion to their importance, okay? And then make sure you're going to do another pass. Making sure that for example, that your characters are described in order of their importance, that you've got your name spelled consistently, because you'd have no idea how many times I pick up books and that I'm editing, of course, and I see character names spelled differently throughout. You're going to finish the characterization, and then next pass, you are going to, or at least this is how I do it, I would try to make sure my world building is done consistently throughout. Okay, so for example, and I would try to illuminate my character's characterization, which watching them, interact with the setting. And try to command all the senses of your audience. And, really try to give the reader what they need. Now, this brings me to perhaps the most important part of revision, okay? Before you guys even embark on your second draft, okay? All right, you scribbled down your first draft. Okay, now you got your second draft. Okay. Before you embark on that second draft, I need for you to be able to tell me, who is your target market? I always say a little prayer when I, hear ambulances go by. So, okay. So here we are. You're about ready to start your second draft. I want you to be able to know and be able to tell me who your target market is. Okay, and what do they want? What do they get out of your reading that they don't get out of anybody else's? You must know this before you embark on even one more draft of your books. Okay, you have to constantly be thinking about what they want, what they need. Down below in the comments, please write any questions or suggestions you might have for fellow writers. As we said earlier, my